Deontay Wilder is yet another person who is casting aspersions over Tyson Fury's reason for postponing their rematch. He said, quote, "I know he wasn't doing well in camp. The young guys were piecing him up. I had a young guy from my camp who was piecing him up." For the record, Fury was sparring the likes of Michael Hunter, Christian Thun, Jared Anderson, and F.A. Ajagba, among others. Now, personally, I suspect that there is some truth to these rumors, particularly with the likes of Jared Anderson, who I think is a very, very talented heavyweight. I would not at all be surprised if he was given Tyson Fury all he could handle and more in sparring. That's not to say that if they were to fight next, Fury and Anderson that is, that Anderson would win. You have to understand that in sparring, in training camp, a fighter is very often tired, sparring multiple different sparring partners who may be fresh when they get in the ring with him, and therefore things happen. When you got somebody as young and talented as Jared Anderson, it increases the chances of things happening. With that being said, I'm not sure whether Tyson Fury would actually pull out of a fight for that reason alone. I suspect that Eddie Hearn might have been onto something when he was talking about poor ticket sales, because this fight was originally scheduled for July, I believe. Poor ticket sales to me would make more sense because things were not quite as open back then. And the fight was announced right off the back of the Joshua fight falling through, which was a big disappointment for boxing fans. And when these guys signed their original contract, which included the rematch clause, they had certain purse splits, which were predetermined, right? The world was a very different place when that contract was put together. So it would have seemed a lot more realistic to pay the two fighters huge sums for the rubber match. But given what's transpired since then and the state of the economy, etc., all the restrictions and what have you, it seems plausible that they may want to find a reason to push the fight back in order to hype it more, be in a position to get a bigger crowd, pay the fighters what they're contracted to get, and obviously try and make a profit. Now, as I've said previously, I suspect that Deontay Wilder will benefit more from the postponement than Tyson Fury. In fact, I think Deontay Wilder has benefited more from all the time out the ring than Tyson Fury has. One, because Deontay Wilder is a pure athlete. He doesn't have to shift loads of pounds when he comes into training camp. If anything, he probably gains weight coming into training camp, like the Klitschko's used to. But more than that, I think that the time which has elapsed since their second fight back in February 2020 has allowed Deontay Wilder to heal mentally. I'm sure he's still going to have some psychological scars there, some demons, but I'm sure he's in a much better place now psychologically than he was, let's say, a year ago. I think that the training that he's been doing with Malik Scott, while some people may say it's not going to help him that much technically, but I say that remains to be seen, I do think it's going to help him psychologically. He genuinely believes he's improving. And if he believes that, it's going to give him more confidence going into this rubber match. Deontay Wilder likes to surround himself with yes men. And Malik Scott is one of those yes men. But he's a yes man who is probably quite good at instilling confidence in Deontay Wilder, additional confidence. Wilder's always been a confident guy, but he's also an ignorant guy. He's not a particularly intelligent guy. Therefore, it would have been very difficult for him, I imagine, to reconcile the one-sided beatdown he received at the hands of Tyson Fury with the image that he had of himself as being this destroyer with mythological punching power, this guy that everybody's scared of. He really believed that he was that guy. He believed his own hype, basically. He believed all the hangers-on and the fanboys. He got carried away. His head was way up in the clouds. So for a guy like that to be brought crashing down to earth with a kind of devastating defeat he suffered at the hands of Tyson Fury, it's going to take a while for him to get over that mentally. And as they say, time is a healer. And I do think that all this time between the second and third fight is going to benefit Wilder more than Fury. Whether it will benefit him enough to actually go in there and get revenge against Fury is another matter. But I personally am expecting a more competitive fight than the one we saw last time around. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below.